Good evening, family. Welcome to day 23 of Devotional Time for Mindset. Yay! Day 23. Hey, Angela, Melissa, Aku, Kit, Quinetta, Jabri, Majori, Marlon, Michelle, Brittany. Good to see you back. Hey, Theo. Hey, other Brittany. Good to see you back as well. Welcome to Devotional Time for Mindset. We are on day 23 of our 100-day journey as we are growing in our spiritual walk together. Okay, so what I need you guys to do right now is, if you are tuned in live, I need you to comment live in the comments. Okay. And then if you're watching the replay later on, comment replay in the comments. And then let me know where you are tuned in from, because I like to know where y'all are hanging out, okay? We've had Nigeria in the house, Kenya, the Netherlands, Canada, Paris, the UK, and all the states across the US. So let me know where you're tuning in from. Meek, Brittany is tuned in live from Evansville, Indiana. Hey, Aku is tuned in live. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Okay, it is good to see you here. It is good to be back. Aunt Lisa is here live. Tabitha's back live from Indy. Aunt Fran's live from Chicago. Yes, good to see you. Devotional Time for Mindset family. Y'all heard me about to stutter over my words. Devotional. Okay, y'all would think that I had sugar, but no, I'm fasting this month, okay? So I'm probably, like I need some sugar is what it is. But anywho, let's get into it. My name is Lindsay Vertner, and I'm a mindset expert, speaker, and actress, and I work with high-achieving leaders to help them prioritize self without guilt, specifically in what I call the 3 pillars of self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline, because those 3 pillars subconsciously impact every single thing that we do in life, okay? It is my purpose to help you, Wendy, and you, Brittany D, and you, Tabitha, to create your first-class life full of purpose, fulfillment, and happiness, okay, Bogani? Because that is why I'm here from Omaha, Nebraska. Ooh, I think that might be the first time we've had somebody from Nebraska, Aku, but I'm not sure, because I just started asking where people were from like a week ago, and I only know if you actually comment where you're from. Isn't that right, JoJo and James? So with that said, comment in the comments, okay? Because this is not me talking at you. I want us to have a discussion. So I need y'all to talk to me so I'm not talking to myself, okay? If you have any insights, if you have any aha moments, and especially if you have any questions, drop drop them in the comments. And then share this live stream out because you never know who is going to need the message on today. Okay, so devotional time for Mindset Family. Let's get into today's devotional. Joyce is here live from South Carolina. Hey, Damsey, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Haitian Queen, good to see ya. And Penny, Dr. Robert is back. Nice to see ya. Oh, Bogani is from Johannesburg, South Africa. What time is it there? Very good to see ya. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, y'all, give me some roses on TikTok. I don't know what they do on Instagram, but give me some. Give me some stars on Facebook. Whatever it is, I greatly appreciate it, okay? Because the internet likes that, likes the when you do the little special things on all the little special platforms. Anyways, let's get into it. This devotional is guided by Battlefield of the Mind devotional book by Joyce Meyer. If you are tuned in via video, you can see me holding up the book right here. You can actually download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. And if you would like to submit a prayer request, you can do that at mindsetmastersuite.com. If you want to join me live in the discussion, just click the join live button at mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay, everything you need, all the info, all the resources, all the tools is at mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay, hey, Thailand Jitto. We are streaming across 8 different platforms right now, so please know I will do my best to catch every comment that I can, but sometimes I miss a comment or two. Charge it to the game, not my heart, all right? Because it's just me over here at this computer, okay? So let's get into it. Good to see you back, Nancy and Mel. Hey, Kimsreen, good to see you. It is 7:08 in Johannesburg, South Africa. Thank you for that little tidbit. I appreciate it. So if you are new here, this is how we work at Devotional Time for Mindset. FYI, this is a safe space. Okay, so feel free to be raw, vulnerable, honest in the comments because we are all here to support and encourage one another. This is a judgment-free zone. This is not a talk about your mammy type of situation or nothing like that. Okay, so know that this is a safe space and I will have no problem booting you out if it were to get to that. But this is devotional time for Mindset Family. So y'all know better, okay? Y'all know how to behave in these internet streets. So every single day for our 100-day journey, I read the devotional directly from the book. Again, you can download your free copy at mindsetmastersuite.com. And then after I read the day's devotional, we have a discussion. We talk about it, okay? Okay. Cassandra says, pray for my family and find my husband a job. Absolutely, Cassandra. We join you in prayer. And I'm also going to ask if you could go to mindsetmastersuite.com and submit that prayer on the form. You can do that anonymously as well if you want to, completely up to you. But that way you can share more details, all right? So let's get into it. Hey, Leanne, thanks for tuning in. Cassandra says, is drinking sins? Is drinking a sin? Is that what you mean, Cassandra? Let me know in the comments if that's what you mean there. So let's get into today's devotional. Today is topic no more excuses for day 23 of our devotional. And the opening scripture is, therefore, if any person is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the fresh and new has come. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. The devotional reads, hey, Carter, I've always had a bad temper. That's just the way I am. I'm a straightforward person. That's who I am, and that's how people need to accept me. I call things as I see them. I don't sugarcoat anything. The list could go on endlessly, but the one thing that these excuses have in common is that each is meant to justify the people being the way they are. It's a way of resisting change. It's also a way for Satan to creep into our minds. The great deceiver tells us that we're not rude, we're just being honest, and people need to respect that quality in us. We think we speak the truth as we see it, and we're not cowards or hypocrites. If the devil can convince us that we don't have to change, that we're fine exactly the way we are, he has won a serious battle in our lives. In fact, the devil can give us a lot of excuses for not changing. That may be the problem. Because if he convinces us that other people are at fault because they're just too sensitive or they don't want to hear the truth and face reality, we don't feel responsible and we think we're all right. Another thing is that no matter how negative we may be in our thinking, most of us wouldn't call ourselves negative. We prefer words like logical, realistic, forthright, candid, or honest. Not facing the truth about ourselves is part of Satan's deceptive work. When I went through a period of extreme negativity, I wouldn't have thought of myself as being negative. I was just being honest. If I saw something wrong, I spoke up. I offered my counsel on ways for people to change. I could see the weaknesses and problems of others, and I was quite happy to show them how they could overcome. On my worst days, I found things wrong with all my friends and everything they did. I didn't have to look for things to criticize. I did it without effort. I didn't consider it negative because I thought I was merely trying to be helpful. It never occurred to me in my prideful state that people didn't really want my help. They wanted acceptance and encouragement, not judgment and criticism. As I said, I never thought of myself as being negative. That is, until God dealt with me and convicted me. I'm not trying to condemn anyone for being negative, frank, blunt, candid, or whatever term you may use for it, because condemning is in itself being negative. Instead, I want to help believers recognize their attitude problems and help them realize that God is able to deliver them. We start the Christian life as new creations of God. Our past is wiped away. The Christian life is one of change, of growth, of moving onward. The pathway to freedom begins when we face our problems and face them without excuses. Yes, I'm negative, but if you had come from the kind of family I did, you'd stop, no excuses. We know that we were in the past, but we also know that we don't have to remain that way now or in the future. With the help of Jesus Christ, we can have our minds renewed according to the word of God. The most difficult part may be to say to God, I'm a negative person, but I want to change. Remember that a negative mind produces a negative life. You've probably tried to change yourself many times in the past, but it didn't work. Now you can begin to win the battle over Satan's stronghold by admitting who you are and acknowledging that you must depend on God to change you. The closing prayer reads, Holy and positive God, forgive me for all my negative thinking. You want me to be loving and fulfilled with your joy. Help me so that Satan has no stronghold over my mind. Please destroy every negative aspect of my thinking through Jesus my Lord. Amen. Okay, dokie. That was day 23 devotional reading titled No More Excuses, based on the verse 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Good to see you back again, Scott and Cunningham. Hey, Jose. Okay, guys, let's get into this discussion, shall we? If you are just tuning in, you are watching Devotional Time for Mindset. We are on day 23 of our 100-day journey. If you'd like to follow along with us, then please go download your free copy of the book, Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can also submit prayer requests at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can check out the resources at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can join me live right now and have a verbal discussion with me at mindsetmastersuite.com. And you are more than welcome to keep your camera turned off if you like, okay? Hey, Your Highness. Good to see you. And good to see you as well, Issa. Okay, y'all. Remember, mindsetmastersuite.com is where all the things are, okay? Sandra says, inbox me. Absolutely. You go ahead and send me a DM because I don't want it to slip my mind and you think that I forgot, okay? Because I maybe did. So you just go ahead and DM me, okay? All right, y'all. No more excuses. Raise your hand if you've ever said any of these things. That's just the way I am. Or maybe, Ada, you've said, nobody's perfect. Or maybe, Cunningham, you've said, I'm just being honest. Or maybe, Regina, you told somebody you're just too sensitive. Has anyone ever uttered any of those phrases? Sarita said, can I get a copy to follow along? Absolutely. You can download a free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. And we are on day 23. So every day it just progresses, just like numerically. Hey, Veltra. So we're on day 23 today. And we've clearly done 1 through 22 already. So feel free to catch up. And then tomorrow we'll start day 24 and so on and so forth. So at mindsetmastersuite.com is where you can get a free copy of the book so that you can follow along with us. So, but yeah, has anyone ever said any of those comments? Let's see. Tabitha has her hand up. I am the miracle coach has her hand up, and Fran has many hands up, and Lisa has her hand up. B Clay is here. Ooh, she's tuning in via YouTube instead of Facebook today. I see you. I see you. Veltra has a shy face emoji and has her hand up. Listen, y'all, we are all in this together. Oh, Brittany D over here on Instagram has her hand up. Y'all, we are more alike than we are different. Okay. And if we haven't ever said any of those phrases, then we've probably heard somebody say them in our lifetime. Joyce even gave some in the devotional today. Some of them were, I've always had a bad temper. That's just the way I am. Or I'm a straightforward person. That's just the way I am. That's how people need to accept me. I call things as I see them. I don't sugarcoat anything. It's just the way I am. Boss Mac says, baby, 100. Okay? Listen, we be hitting some nerves in devotional time for mindset, okay? So put your seatbelt on. Or we use the excuse. Maybe we didn't say any of those things, but maybe we say, I'm this way because this happened to me. Ooh, any of you ever said that? I act like this because this happened to me, because I was raised this way, or because I was abused like this, or because I was neglected like this. Anybody ever have any of those? Yeah. I see more hands going up in the comments. Hey, Principal Brock, good to see you. I hope you don't got class in the morning. You might be tired, but hey, sometimes we're night owls. Raising my hand for that. So here's the thing. That is a trick of the enemy to think that we don't have to be sensitive in our words to other people, that we don't have to be mindful of the attitudes that are spewing off of us. Because remember, the fruits we produce, that's what we gonna give out to the people. So if I produce a bad fruit, I'm feeding other people a bad fruit. Just as if I produce a good fruit, I'm feeding other people a good fruit. And we want to be producers of good fruit. But if we're stuck in our ways, probably not the best place to be. If we're stuck in our attitudes, if we feel like we have to just spew off any and everything that comes in our minds, I'm sure y'all have heard the phrase, if your mama didn't teach you anything nice to say, don't say it at all. Listen, that doesn't mean that we are to ignore everything that we're thinking. And that doesn't mean that sometimes we aren't to hold other people accountable to the things that they may or may not be doing or saying. But what it does mean is that we have to be mindful of our tongues and our attitudes. Because there's a difference between a gentle correction versus just a harsh word being critical. Because remember, it's a fine line between being critical and condemning other people. And we already learned on previous days that we don't want to condemn. We don't want to condemn ourselves, and we definitely don't want to condemn other people, because then we're becoming the judge. And we aren't to judge other people. Okay, so that is a trick of the enemy, and he wants us to stay in that space. He doesn't want us to change. But remember what we learned in previous days. We are to be on a constant path of growth. We are to be in constant forward motion. because we are living waters. We are living beings, and living things grow. Living things move forward. Jesus Christ was the living water, and Christ is within us. We learned that standing water becomes disgusting and nasty and smelly and toxic. And if our bodies are mostly made up of water, what happens when we're standing and stagnant? We become nasty and disgusting and toxic to ourselves and to the people around us, Annie. So we want to be in that constant state of growth and motion. And when we're stuck in our ways, we're not growing. Okay? Okay? So we have to be willing to grow and change and improve, especially when we're in the wrong. So I want to share this story with you because it's gonna really illustrate the power of being resistant to change. Okay, and it's gonna play along with some things that we've already learned in devotional time for mindset. Okay, Dee Dee and Michelle. So one time I was on this plane and I don't remember where I was going, but it was like a little quick transfer, and it was this really, really small plane, like the kind where you can't even put your regular carry-ons up in the bins above. Just a really small plane. And I remember I had fell asleep for a moment, and I had woken up because I was in pain because all the seats were the same and they were very small, and I'm a very tall lady, and I was in pain because I was uncomfortable with how I was sitting and I couldn't get comfortable. Hey Eric, you want to guess what I did? Who thinks that I got myself comfortable, or who thinks that I just stayed in that same position? I wish I could do like a poll on these platforms. We'll do an unofficial poll. Put it in the comments. Do you think that I stayed in the exact position I was, or do you think that I changed around to get more comfortable on that little plane, Jeannie? Let me know what you think, Vasek. I was very uncomfortable. So uncomfortable that it woke me up out of my sleep. Brittany D over on Instagram says she thinks that I got comfy. User 8713 says I got comfortable. Aunt Fran says I got more comfortable. Brittany C over on YouTube says I stayed the same. Aunt Lisa says I got comfortable. Nancy says I changed around. Y'all want to know what I did? I didn't move. I didn't move. You want to know why I didn't move? I was extremely uncomfortable. But here's the thing. I was scared. I was nervous that if I did move, I might make myself more uncomfortable. Did you get that, Doris? I was fearful that if I did move, I might make myself even worse. Remember the other day we talked about stop, you're making it worse. Well, that's what my brain was telling me. If you move, you're going to make it worse, potentially. Could you get more comfortable? Yes, that is an option. I mean, technically, it's a 50-50 chance. However, I didn't allow myself to move because I was fearful of the unknown. I was fearful of the uncertainty in me moving. Was I worried I would lose more comfort, even though there was the possibility to gain comfort? Absolutely. Because remember we talked about in previous days, what does the brain want to do? The brain's number one goal is to keep us alive and safe. That's its number one goal, above everything, top priority, to keep us alive and safe. And then what are some other goals of the brain? To decrease pain and increase comfort. Keep us alive and safe, decrease pain, increase comfort and pleasure. Happy things. I said decrease pain and increase pleasure. However, our affinity to decrease pain is generally stronger than our affinity to increase pleasure. So if somebody brought to you two options and that they said, these are the only options that you have for the rest of your life, whatever pleasure you are experiencing, you can keep it exactly the same and decrease any pain that you are going through. Or Whatever pain you're experiencing, you can keep it exactly the same, and you can increase all the pleasure you're going through. Now, most of us would assume that, okay, I can deal with the pain, give me all the pleasure. However, not how our brain works. We are going to 9 times out of 10 take the option that says decrease all the pain. I don't care if I don't even got any pleasure, decrease all the pain. And that's exactly what happened in that airplane situation. Because the pain of loss is greater than the power of gain. I'm going to say that one again. The pain of loss is greater than the power of gain. Brittany over here in the comments says, oh my God, wow, you were uncomfortable, but you didn't move because you were afraid you would make yourself more uncomfortable. That'll preach. And guess what, y'all? I just gave y'all a physical example of me doing that on a plane. And that was years ago. And I never forgot that situation because I really reflected on it afterwards. Like, girl, you really allowed yourself to stay in an uncomfortable place. Because why? And a lot of us right now in this moment are allowing ourselves to stay in an uncomfortable place because of fear of the unknown, fear of uncertainty. Yes, the option is out there to achieve your goals or to improve your situation or to get better. However, you'd rather stick with the familiar, because what else did we learn about our brains in previous days? Our brain likes the familiar. Our brain likes patterns. Our brain likes things that it can predict because it helps us to stay alive, which again is the brain's number one goal. Okay? So it was the fear of the unknown of would I end up more uncomfortable or would I actually get comfortable that made me not move an inch. Y'all, I didn't even want to breathe. When I say I froze like a statue, I froze like a statue. And I paid for it later. My back was definitely sore. But hey, it is what it is. It made for a great story on today. When we're resistant to change, we like to make up excuses to justify our current behavior, just like we talked about in the devotional today. When we're resistant to change, we like to make up excuses to justify our behavior. In the airplane example, my excuse was, we're almost there anyway. I can stick it out. It'll be okay. That was my excuse, saying that we're almost there, y'all. It was at least an hour left. And I don't know about you, but an hour can go by very slow. And I already told you it woke me up out my sleep. So it's not like I can sleep the hour off and make it go by faster. Some other excuses. That's just the way I am. It's how I was raised. I'm just being honest. It's because blah, blah, blah happened to me at blah, blah, blah point in my life. Those are all excuses that the enemy wants us to keep repeating. So here's the thing. Each and every one of us has a pain threshold. Here's our pain. Here's our ability to change. Or our, I don't want to say desire to change because the desire can be there, but our willingness to change. That's what I'll say. And our threshold for pain has to surpass our willingness to change before we'll ever make a difference. And before we'll ever do the things that we need to do, Althea. Our threshold for pain has to pass our willingness to change. Let me say it a different way. The pain of staying the same has to pass the pain of change for us to be able to make a move. Until that happens, we will keep ourselves uncomfortable forever. And unfortunately, many people choose that path. And I don't want you to be one of them, AB. I'll give you another example because y'all ain't hearing me on day 23 of Devotional Time for Mindset, okay? If you know me, then you know that I used to wear glasses. Y'all, I literally wore glasses all my life. First grade was when I got my first pair of glasses. Freshman year of high school is when I got my first pair of contacts. Between what year is it? 2023? I believe it was 20. Nope, not 2019 because COVID happened in 2020. Y'all bear with me just a second because I got to get the dates right. COVID happened in 2020, so it was 2021. Yep, that sounds right. Okay, so I've worn glasses from the time I was in first grade all the way up into the year 2021. Now, mind you, prior to 2021, I had wanted to get LASIK surgery. If you don't know what that is, that's where they put lasers on your eye and correct your vision so you don't have to wear glasses or contacts. I would say probably around 2016, 2015, 2016 is whenever I first found out about LASIK and I wanted to get LASIK. But 2015 to 2021 is a big gap, right? It absolutely is. That's a very big gap. So you might be asking, well, why didn't it take so long? Why did it take so long? Excuse me. Well, my pain for change and my pain, my threshold for pain is what it was. Because here's the thing. Glasses were getting on my absolute nerve. It didn't matter how many new pairs I got. It didn't matter how much I got them fitted. For some reason, they were always sliding off of my face as I got older. And I don't know what it was. They didn't used to do that. But so much so to the point where I started getting rashes behind my ears from pushing my glasses up so much and rubbing against them. Again, it didn't matter how much I got my glasses fitted. And then with contacts, I was having so many issues with my contacts. It didn't matter what kind, what brand, didn't matter if I used eye drops, but they kept irritating my eye. So I was highly annoyed with glasses and contacts. However, I was highly fearful of putting a laser on my eyeball because in my mind, ooh, if they make even the smallest mistake, they could blind me. It doesn't matter how many times they've done it and how successful the surgeries are. It doesn't matter if I go to the best eye surgeon in the world. If they even blink and barely move a millimeter, they could blind me rather than correct my vision, Linda. And I was terrified of that. And so for all those years, I kept dealing with the uncomfort of glasses and contacts. And then guess what my excuse was? So that was my initial excuse. I'm terrified to have lasers on my eyeballs. Okay. But then my second excuse was I probably can't afford it. It probably costs a lot of money. A lot of you tuned in right now have talked yourself out of the things that you desire because you feel that you can't afford it. But let me tell you, honey, you can afford anything you desire to afford. And I'm not saying that to be like insensitive to the financial situations of anybody, but if I gave you some examples, you could afford anything you desire to afford. It's all about how bad do you want it? Because if you want it bad enough, the money will come to you or you will figure out where to get it from, Christy. That's how it works. For example, if you're a parent, think about your child. Just pick one if you have more than one. And if you're not a parent, think about somebody that you would be willing to lay your life on the line for. And if it came to it and that person was sick and the doctor said, I'm going to give you 1 year to come up with $10,000 to save this sick person's life. If you don't come up with that $10,000, they are going to pass away. And you're like, okay, 1 year, I can make some things happen and figure that out. In 1 year, it's going to be a struggle, but I can do it. Move money here, take an extra job here, stop buying Starbucks here, or whatever it is. But then let's say the doctor was like, oh, wait, I'm sorry. The condition is worse than we thought. It's going to cost you $10,000 in 1 month. Woo! That's gonna startle you. But you're gonna figure out how to get that $10,000 in 1 month. And then the doctor comes back and said, you know what? Some more tests just came back and it is a dire situation. You have to get $15,000 in the next week. Best believe you will work your tail off, especially if it is someone you love, as if it was your child or maybe your parent or maybe your boo thing, to get that 15,000 in a week's time and save their life. Now, that was an extreme example, but I say that to say that we can afford the things that we desire to afford if we actually looked at the numbers. If we looked at our financial situation, if we looked at where we can cut back and where we can build up, if we actually figured out what the price of the thing is that we want in the first place. Because my second excuse, remember, the first one is that I don't want lasers on my eyeballs. And then my second excuse was that, oh, it probably costs too much. How do I know if I never looked into the price of LASIK surgery? So then I finally looked into the price and I was like, oh, okay, not as much as I thought it would be. I could do that. And then I started talking to my eye doctor about it. But still, that first one, I don't want lasers on my eyeballs. That was my number one reason for not getting LASIK surgery. And the doctor was like, well, your prescription has to be consistent over a period of time. And so I was like, okay, it had changed, so I can't do that now. But then it had reached that time. And I think it was like 2 years, maybe 3 years, you had to have a stable prescription. And so I finally reached that time. It was like, oh, okay, well, I'm an eligible candidate for LASIK, but I still was like, I don't want lasers on my eyeballs. It wasn't until my pain for staying the same passed the pain of change that I finally got LASIK surgery. And y'all want to know how quickly it happened? I got so annoyed with glasses and contacts, Cheryl, that I finally said, you know what? I cannot take this anymore. And another thing had happened. I was asleep in the middle of the night, and I don't remember, it was like a noise or something. Everybody was safe. Nobody was trying to break in or nothing like that. It was just a noise that had startled me awake. And when I woke up, I couldn't see anything. That's how bad my vision was, y'all. Without my glasses or contacts, I couldn't even see a foot in front of me. I couldn't see anything. And then I went to feel for my glasses because you don't sleep in your contacts, and I couldn't find them instantly. And that scared me. Like, geez, if somebody really did break in here, I wouldn't even be able to give a description because I can't see them. Even if the light was turned on, they would be blurry to me. Y'all. So it was August 2021. I said, you know what? I'm tired of this. I want to get LASIK surgery. And the moment that I made that decision in my mind, I think the next day I had a hair appointment. Now, usually the hairstylist that I go to in the salon, there's music playing. And usually I never even noticed any commercials when the music was playing when I went to her. How come that very next day I go to get my hair done, the music is playing, and then all of a sudden I hear a commercial for LASIK surgery? Y'all, the world will give you exactly the things that you need and that you say. We talked about that yesterday, I believe. Ask God what you want, and He will grant you the desires of your heart as long as it aligns with principles, certain principles that we talked about on previous days. Good to see you back, Renee. And so I was like, I'm a humor myself and call that LASIK place. And so I called them up, and with the intentions of just getting more information, what was the price, what was the process, and things like that. Tell me why I hung up that phone with the consultation for September. And then tell me why I went to that consultation in September. And then I had it by, I think it was the beginning of October. So August, I made the decision to get it. The next day, I get a pebble on my journey to pick up. I get some information, and I have a consultation in September, and the surgery is done beginning of October. Because the pain of staying the same finally passed the pain of change and the fear of the unknown. And when I say it was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life, it was one of the best decisions I had ever made in my life. Was I scared walking into it? Absolutely. Am I happy I did it? Absolutely. Do I wish I would have done it sooner? Absolutely. And this wasn't even my notes to share this story today. So I don't know who needed that story specifically, because there is something that you are resisting that you know you need to do or that you want to do, and you know that it will significantly change your situation, and you're not doing it because you're fearful of something, fearful of the unknown, the uncertainty, the confusion. So I don't know if that's you, Coach Peggy, or if it's you, Afosa, or who it is, but somebody that is tuned in now needed that story because it was not in my notes. And then even when I started to tell it, I was like, just get the fast version. But I definitely told y'all the whole story because it significantly changed my eyesight. And so ever since the fall of 2021, I've had 20/20 vision. And I have loved it. I don't got to worry about glasses. I don't got to worry about contacts or anything of the such. So I don't know, Althea or Kay or Dr. Robert or Ariana, who needed that message. But there you go. Ask yourself, what is it that you are resisting the change to that you know will significantly change your circumstance? And Lisa says, I need that, niece. Tabitha says, me. Thank you for being honest. Hey, Key. So, getting back into the notes, because for me, it was an eye surgery. For you, it is likely something else, and only you can answer what that something else might be. Maybe it is the fear of a relationship, and you're stuck in one, and you know that you don't need to be in that relationship. But again, your pain has not surpassed the pain of change quite yet. And so that's why, even though you say you want something different, you haven't made the moves to have something different, which maybe starts with setting boundaries, V baby. Or maybe it starts with leaving that person altogether. I don't know. Maybe for other people, it's a career choice. Tabitha says, been hiding in my room since December 8th. Today I stepped out and scheduled an interview. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing, Tabitha. And we are sharing, not sharing, but standing with you in prayer about whatever situation that is. And I don't know if you literally mean you've been hiding in your room and haven't left, or if you metaphorically mean that you've been hiding in your room and haven't left. But either way, kudos to you for stepping out today and scheduling an interview. Baby steps. Okay? Baby steps is all anyone needs. When I made the decision to get LASIK, I didn't just go jump to the office and say, okay, y'all fix my eyes. I took baby steps. I had just had an eye doctor appointment and I consulted with my doctor. A couple days later, I made the intentional choice. Okay, I'm going to get it. The very next day, the first resource is dropped in my world. Because in my car, I don't hear commercials because I listen either to my phone or to Sirius XM, or old school, I put in a CD. So I never hear commercials. On my TV, I don't watch regular TV. I only watch streaming platforms. So again, I don't hear commercials. I made the intentional choice on one day, and the very next day, God dropped the resource that I need right into my atmosphere. That was step 2. I picked up the phone, I took action, and I called that commercial that I heard in the salon. That was step 3. Baby steps, little by little. After that, had a few emails exchanges as well, but on the phone, scheduled a consultation. But before the consultation, we had to exchange emails of information. Baby steps, one step at a time. You don't have to make the whole entire change in one day. Y'all have heard the phrase, Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, neither was anything else, cool beans. Baby steps. Then I had the consultation, and guess what? They didn't do the surgery the same day. It was just a consultation to see all the things that I needed to do. And then the morning of the surgery, I had to take more steps. I had to have somebody that was going to drive me there and drive me. Well, technically, I could drive myself, but somebody had to drive me home. So I had to make sure that was arranged. And then I went in there and had the surgery. And then I had to have the eye drops to put in my eyes, the medication, because I literally just had lasers on my eyeballs. Baby steps. And when I first came off of the surgery table, it was blurry, but I could see the numbers on the clock across the room. And remember, I told y'all prior to that, I couldn't see a foot in front of me. Anything past a foot was blurry. Okay, Momo? But as soon as they lifted me up off of the surgery table, I could clearly see the numbers on the clock across the room, but it was blurry. And then as I'm getting driven home, I could see the trees and the signs on the road. And I was looking out the window like a child on Christmas Day or somebody that just seen snow for the first time and is just in awe. Baby steps. But it was still a little blurry because my eyes just had surgery. They're still sensitive. So the light was an issue right after surgery. Baby steps. And then they tell you to take the medicine, go home, and go to sleep. You don't have to, but it will definitely help because your eyes are sensitive to the light and you're probably going to be tired. And so that's what I did. I went home and I went to sleep. And then by the time I woke up that night, everything was clear, but it didn't happen instantly. Aunt Lisa says, you are hitting all the points on me today. That's why we're here on Devotional Time for Mindset. She says, thank you. Hey, Sahab. Rome, that's you, Rome, isn't it? Cool Bean? That's you, Rome. I see you. I see you. Thanks for tuning in. Tabitha says, I needed this attitude adjustment and see, I need to lean into God more. And this and every day before has been speaking to me and where I need to change. Tabitha, you are in my heart forever, girl. Just know that. And everybody here on Devotional Time for Mindset, I think of you often and pray for you always. Some of y'all have heard me say that at the end of our days, but it is so very true. Sahab says Jabari. Hey, Jabari. So I actually wasn't calling you Rome. I was calling somebody else Rome, but thank you. It's nice to know actual names versus usernames. Good to see you, Jabari. Hey, Christine. Okay, so let me get back into my notes because we're already at 51 minutes and I thought today was going to be a short day, but when God has other plans, my job is just to be obedient, okay? All right. Y'all still good out there? Y'all still good? Okay, let's get back. Let's get back into it. What are some reasons that we might resist change? So that's what we're going to talk about. I gave a whole bunch of examples of what happens about the pain of staying the same versus the pain of change and which one we're naturally inclined to go to. So now we're going to talk about some reasons we resist change, and then we're going to talk about how to overcome the resistance to change. And that'll be our day for today, okay? So some reasons that we resist change. We already talked about how our brain works and wants to keep us alive, decrease pain, increase pleasure. Okay, those are top goals for our brain. But our brain thinks that there is a threat. Whenever we're resistant to change, our brain thinks that there is a threat to our psyche, to our mental state, our emotional state, our physical state, our social state, because who wants to be I don't want to say nerd because technically, I mean, by definition, I would be a nerd, but the outcast, I would say. Nobody likes to be the outcast in the group. Everybody wants friends. And usually when they say they don't, it's a defense mechanism, a survival tactic, so that they don't feel let down if they feel shunned away from the cool kids. But those are natural desires. So our brain resists change because it feels that there is a threat to our mental, emotional, physical, or social state. And so it'll start to make us do things to resist change. So how are some ways that we resist change? Well, according to the Harvard Business Review, some reasons that we resist change are because we feel like we're going to lose control. Brittany says failure. Failure is one of them, Maloney. We talked about control on another day. We feel like we're going to lose control of something if everything changes. We might have that fear of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen, like with the LASIK surgery. I didn't know. Like, yes, okay, I know that it's a very common practice these days, but what if I get the one doctor that has a slip of hand and makes me go blind instead of correcting my vision? That fear of the unknown, that fear of uncertainty, because I couldn't guarantee that my doctor would do my surgery flawless. Because why? Because we've heard on the news where doctors made mistakes, and sometimes deadly mistakes. What are the odds of that happening? Probably slim to none, but still, it's a chance. Okay, so sometimes we resist change because we don't like the surprise. We don't like the surprise element. So, for example, if you have some plans at your workplace and then the boss just comes in and says, today we're going to do this, and it completely changes your plans out the blue, didn't give you no prep time, didn't give you no warning or anything like that, we can be resistant to change. Actually, the conversation I had with my son in the car today is a perfect example of that, because I said, hey, Tyler, moving forward, I'm going to start signing you up for some one-on-ones with Coach Derek. And he said, no, don't do that. I said, why not? That's the best. And he said, no, he's going to make me run. I said, good. He said, no, I'm not going to get any breaks. I said, that's not true. You're going to get a break in an hour and a half time. He said, no, I've seen it. He doesn't let anybody have a break when he's doing private sessions. Tyler, you're exaggerating, but I just wanted to let you know so that you can get your mind right. I mean, because what if I just dropped you off right now and was like, okay, go inside for your one-on-one? You wouldn't have had any time to make an adjustment, to get your mental right. I would have just sprung it on you. So you're welcome, because I'm telling you in advance. So now you have an opportunity to get your mind right, get yourself in the right space so that you can be prepared for these one-on-ones with Coach Derek in basketball. So sometimes the element of surprise makes us resistant to change. Over here in the comments, Brittany C on YouTube says, this is good. The LASIK example is on point. And she says, I have resisted change because I'm afraid of losing certain relationships. That's a big one for a lot of people, Brittany C. And I believe I said this to Tabitha on a previous day. We can't think about what we're losing in that relationship. We have to think about what we're gaining instead. So yeah, you might lose the relationship, but shift your perspective and say, what am I gaining instead? Don't think of it as a loss. Think of it as a gain. But then still grieve that relationship. Allow yourself to process those emotions. But think about it that way as well. Because sometimes people are in our lives for a season, and some seasons are longer than others. Some people are meant to be with you for 2 years. Some people just 1 month. Some people for 1 day. Literally, some people for 1 moment. 5 minutes in and they're out. I can think about a time when I was like that for someone. Is it okay if I share this story with you? It's very, very quick. One day, so y'all know that I travel a lot. Travel for work and because I like traveling. So work and pleasure, all of the things. But one day I'm getting off an airplane, getting onto my transfer. And I notice as I'm getting off of the plane and I'm walking to my next transfer that there is a young lady. I would say probably like 18, 19, 20. But she was definitely young. And I just noticed the look on her face. And And mind you, this is a very quick moving airport. And so everybody is just on the go, go, go. Think about like Home Alone and how they're running in the airport and it's all crowded and chaotic. That's the atmosphere that we were in. But for some reason, I noticed the look on her face. And something inside of me said, go help that young lady. Didn't know who she was. Didn't know exactly if she needed my help or not. But I just walked up to her and very politely said, hey, are you lost? Do you need some help? You okay? And she was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And she started saying like that was her first time in the airport and she's kind of overwhelmed and she's not sure which way to go. So I took a moment, although my own self was busy and I was trying to catch my next flight, I took a moment and I looked at her ticket and I said, okay, so this is what this means. This is what this means. And that means that you have to do this. And so this is the gate that you're going to. And this is what time it departs and boards. So you need to make sure you get here. And I was like, okay. And she was like, okay. But I could tell that she still wasn't really confident in what I just shared with her. And so I said, how about this? How about I walk you to your next gate and then you go from there? And that's what I did. And it really wasn't that far. Was it a little bit out of my way? Just a little bit, but it was okay. I never found out her name. I never told her my name, but the look of relief on her face, the way that I remember that story, I bet you she remembers it too. And y'all know how we have those moments where, or maybe we've seen on TV where it's like an angel comes in, saves the day, and it's gone. Like the person turns around and is like, but that person just helped me. And they're turning around trying to tell somebody else about the person. And they're like, where did they go? And they can't find them. I feel like that was that moment for me because as quickly as I walked up, I walked off. But the look of relief and comfort and just calm in the middle of chaos that she had as a result. Sometimes we're only meant to be in a person's life for a moment. That's why I was sharing that example because for her that was literally all of 5 minutes. 5 minutes that significantly changed her day and probably the sense of stress and anxiety and overwhelm that she was feeling. And sometimes we have to figure out, is this a seasonal relationship or is this a long-term relationship? Ask God to help us figure that out because he usually will let us know when it's time to cut people off. And that doesn't mean we have to do it in a bad way. That doesn't mean we have to fall out and we have to have drama. We can love people from a distance. Think of it this way. I'll give you one more on this one because you put it out there. And if you put it out there, that means somebody else is struggling with this too. Right, Deborah? Think of it this way. This is the analogy I like to use. What happens when you get on the elevator? If you stand in the doorway, the elevator doors don't close. They just keep bumping each other and opening back up. You have to move from out of the doorway and either get on or get off of the elevator for the doors to close and the elevator to move up. Now, some people in our lives will get on at the bottom floor and they're meant to go all the way up to the top with us. Some people in our lives will get on the third floor and they're just meant to go to the fourth floor. Other people might get on at the fifth floor and meant to go to the 17th floor, but not the 100th floor. And what happens whenever we're on the fifth floor and we're trying to go to the sixth floor, but the person we're in a relationship in is supposed to get off on the fifth floor? They're standing in the doorway and they're not allowing you to elevate to the sixth floor because they are blocking the way. And until you let go of that relationship and move them out of the doorway of the elevator, you will continue to be stuck. Now, that doesn't mean that they won't elevate. They just have to elevate on a different elevator, not on yours. And that's okay. And that elevator might be in the same building. It might be across the street. It might be in another city. I don't know. That's up to you to figure out. But that's the analogy and the story that I wanted to share with you in response to that statement of being afraid to lose certain relationships. Let me know if that was helpful. If you are just tuning in, welcome, okay? This is day 30. Nope, not 30. Look at me, already jumping ahead. This is day 23 of our 100-day journey of devotional time for mindset. We are here every single day, same time, same place for 100 days straight. and we're 23 days in. And this devotional is guided by the book Battlefield of the Mind Devotional by Joyce Meyer. For those of you tuned in via video, you see me holding it up to the different cameras. And you can download your free copy of the book at mindsetmastersuite.com. You either see it on the screen or it's somewhere in the caption or the description, depending on where you're tuned in from. Okay. You can also submit prayer requests there. You can join me live in the discussion. If you want to, you can keep your camera turned on or turned off. Just hit the join live button at mindsetmastersuite.com and check out the resources at mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay, so let's get back into this discussion. We start off every day by reading the devotional, and then we have a discussion on the topic, which is where we're at now, which means y'all need to talk to me in the comments, and y'all doing a great job, okay? Brittany C on YouTube says, I resist change due to overthinking and procrastination. Those are big ones. Aunt Fran says, the main reason it took me so long to submit to God was because I didn't want to lose my control. That's good. Hey, Frank, thanks for tuning in. She said she didn't want to lose her control. And we talked about control in previous days. But here's the thing about control. And it's so funny that you said that because I had a podcast interview earlier today. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about at that moment. But I do remember saying that there was a time in my life where I was about 2.5 years of being in the valley. And it seemed like everything that could hit me was hitting me. Everything except actual physical death. Because if you've been here before, you've heard my story and you know the enemy already tried that one and it didn't work. So he was like, oh, well, I couldn't kill her literally, physically. So let me try and hit her all these other ways, because just as I feared, she's making the impact that I didn't want her to make when I tried to take her out the first time. So let me come at her all the other ways I could possibly come at her. And literally only the people closest to me, not saying that all of my family is close or anything, but I didn't want people to know what I was going through because I'm usually the strong one. That's a whole nother story just right there, being the strong one. But in this case, I had about 2.5 years of being completely in the valley. And it wasn't until I let go of control of everything. Not that I was even controlling, but I definitely tried to handle everything. I tried to solve all the problems. And it wasn't until I literally let go and let God that I started to regain peace and regain a sense of it's going to be all right. It looks real chaotic right now, but it's going to be all right. So sometimes we have to let go of control so that we can move forward. And Fran says, I had to change my mindset, which is why we're here on Devotional Time for mindset. Okay, so let's get back into some of these reasons that we resist change. Loss of control, uncertainty, surprise. It's too different. Okay, V. Loss of prestige. Sometimes we feel like, well, if I change, am I going to lose my title? Am I going to lose my position? Am I going to lose something of value? So that loss of prestige. Will it be more work? So sometimes we feel like that. If this will this change make me have to work even more than I already work? Or can I even do it? If this change happens, can I even do it? So that's that fear of not being good enough, that lack of confidence, that fear of failure. Sometimes it's the ripples of disruption that cause us to resist change because of how many people it's going to impact, even if it is going to be for the positive. Change can sometimes open up old wounds that we don't want to face. And sometimes there actually can be like a significant threat that comes with change. And so our brain is familiar with all of them. Okay. And those are all the reasons that it can potentially, well, not all of them. That's actually only some of the reasons. So another one is like too many changes too often can just make us feel confused and uncomfortable. Remember, we talked about on previous days that you have to go little by little. And that applies to many things in our lives. Sometimes we're emotionally attached to the things that we don't want to change. I'll give you an example. In high school, I had a physically and verbally abusive ex-boyfriend. And although I didn't want to be in an abusive relationship, I never thought I would be in an abusive relationship. So I urge any person that is tuned in that ever catches themselves saying that could never be me, pump your brakes, because in a blink of an eye, it could easily be you. Because I was one of those people. When I saw abusive relationship, that could never be me. I wish I would. And then it was. And because I was emotionally attached to this person, I dealt with it for all of high school and even going into my first college year. And it wasn't until I finally let go of the emotional attachment that I was able to fully let go of the entire relationship. And there were a few times that I actually did try to break it off. But then something occurred that made me fearful again, that I was like, okay, never mind. Just kidding. Abort mission. Please don't break my bedroom window. My mama ain't got the money to fix it, okay? Y'all, that's a true story, actually. One time I wouldn't let him in, and he attempted to proceed to break my bedroom window. And so because I was worried about the impacts it was going to have on my mother, and I knew she couldn't financially pay to get the window fixed, I let him in so he would stop breaking the window. And luckily, it was like a 2-paned window, so he only broke the outside. And you would think I would have got rid of him then, but I was attempting to get rid of him at that time. So the pain of staying the same versus the pain of change. Okay. Let's keep going. Confusion. A confused mind says no. We say that a lot in business whenever we're talking in respect to sales and clients, potential clients. A confused mind says no. So, for example, in business, let's say that there's a client that you're talking with and you're trying to give them information about why they should buy your service or buy your product. If you give them too much information, especially if it's too complicated information, they are going to deny your product or service. Why? Because a confused mind says no. And that goes for all of us. When we're confused about what's happening, it makes us resistant to change. Okay. And then sometimes it's just our personal tolerance. Some people can change a little easier than other people. Okay. So those are a few reasons that we can become resistant to change. But now let's talk about how we can overcome that resistance. Okay. And y'all, I've been thinking of a whole bunch of good stuff for y'all these days, okay? This time we gonna call on AAA. A couple days ago, we took a bite out of our thoughts. Today we gonna call on AAA. And I'm not talking about insurance. We're going to acknowledge, ask, and allow. These are some ways that we can begin the process, because remember, it might not happen overnight. Acknowledge, ask, and allow. So there's 3 parts to each of those A's. Triple A. Ready? So let's start with acknowledge. First, we are going to acknowledge the resistance that we are feeling to change. And we're going to acknowledge our feelings about that resistance. Why are we feeling so resistant to the change that is happening in our lives or that we need to make in our lives? Because sometimes it's forced change, like let's say with an employer. Sometimes it's optional change, like something going on in our personal lives. Number 2, acknowledge. Acknowledge your fears and the potential threats. So sit down and ask yourself, why do I feel threatened by this change? What is making me feel unsafe by this change? Now, remember, when I say unsafe and feel threatened, that doesn't mean somebody's got a gun to your head and they're about to, pull the trigger. No, but remember, We said earlier that when we're resistant to change, our brain thinks that there is a threat to us in some way, either mental threat or a threat to our emotional state or a threat to our physical state or a threat to our social state, our status. Okay? So acknowledge your resistance and feelings, acknowledge your fears and threats, and then the last acknowledge is to acknowledge the loss. This goes along with Brittany C's statement earlier about the fear of losing a relationship. Acknowledge the loss. Grieve however you need to grieve, because grieving isn't just about the physical passing of a body. You can grieve a relationship that gets broken up. You can grieve the loss of a job. Maybe your best friend just moved 100 miles away and you can only see her once a year whenever y'all used to see each other every day. You can grieve that loss. Not that y'all not best friends anymore, but the fact that your relationship dynamics is definitely changing. So all of those can be potential reasons for grief. So grieve whatever loss you need to grieve. So acknowledge the loss that is a result of the change that you are going to experience. Okay, now let's move on to the ask, the triple A of ask. Ask yourself, what could go wrong? With this change, what are all the potential things that can go wrong? And to follow that up, ask yourself, Michelle, what could go right? With this change, what are all the potential things that could go right? The positives that may come from this change. Because you can bet your whistle. That's where we're going to focus our attention. Because remember, where your focus goes, your energy flows, and things you focus on, you attract more of into your life. And then the final ask yourself, can I control this? Can I control this? Because if you can't control it, then you're probably causing yourself extra stress, unnecessary frustration, and all of those things, because we talked about control on one of the previous days and how that works. Okay, so ask yourself, can I control this? Because if you can't control it, then you need to figure out how you're going to move forward one way or the other. And if you can control it, then you need to figure out an action plan, which brings me to the last A of triple A. So the triple A of the last A is called allow. Hey, Carrington. Hey, JFR. The first allow is allow yourself time to process and shift your mindset. So allow yourself time to process and shift your mindset, however it is that you need to process. Carrington says, what's good over on Instagram? Hey, Yolanda. And shift your mindset, just how like with Brittany C's comment, when she said the loss of the relationship. And what did I share with her? I said, well, shift your mindset and think of it this way. Don't think of it as what you're losing. Ask yourself what you're gaining. That's a mindset shift. Okay. So allow yourself time to process and shift your mindset. And then the second allow is allow yourself to create a plan of action. Allow yourself to create a plan of action. Because we need to know how we're going to move with this change. What's going to happen next? And sometimes we don't know, Shalim. But we need to start somewhere. Okay? We need to start somewhere. And don't feel like you have to be married to this plan, because plans can shift and change as well. No pun intended. But allow your plan to be flexible. Ooh, that was a bonus, A. Allow your plan to be flexible. And so the last allow is allow others to help. Don't feel like you have to do this thing alone, Naomi, because you don't. You have your devotional time for mindset family here, and I see y'all supporting each other in the comments on different days. There are resources, i.e. therapists, specialists, doctors, psychiatrists, counselors, churches, support groups. There's literally a support group for everything under the sun. You just have to be willing to do the work to find it. Look on Facebook, look on meetup.com, look on Yelp. Ask somebody, hey, do you know if there are any support groups for this? Or do you know a good database where I can browse support groups? And maybe if you truly can't find a support group, maybe that's your cue that you're supposed to start a support group for that very thing. Maybe that's a part of your purpose. Be willing to ask others for help. Professional others, friends, family, whomever it needs to be. Even if it's just, hey, I need just a little bit of help holding myself accountable in this area. Do you think you could check in with me every now and then? Check in with yourself all the time. I will send little reminders to myself on my phone. Like even for this devotional, one time I was already in the bed and I was reading something. I told y'all about the book. I was reading the book, 12-Week Years, I think it's called. I don't forgot the name now. I'm still reading it though, and I'm paying attention. Yeah, 12-Week Years. I was reading the book and I was already in the bed, away from my office, away from my desk. And there was something in the book that I wanted to share with you guys on the next day. And so I opened up my phone so that I wouldn't forget. And I sent myself a text message and I scheduled it to go to me at the time that I would normally be in my office prepping for the next day. So I was laying in bed. I said, let me schedule this for 11:15 p.m. tomorrow. So that as I'm in my office at my desk preparing for the devotional, it would ding my phone and remind me. So we can hold ourselves accountable too. We can ask ourselves for help. But sometimes we need outside sources, okay? Don't be afraid. Make yourself vulnerable. All right. So that is everything I have for you on day 23 of devotional time for mindset. And so our intentional act for today, did I not write it? I could have sworn. I must have accidentally deleted it because I do remember typing it on the screen. Y'all give me a second, because now I'm confused with what happened to that. So for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, depending on where you're tuned in from, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places where you can tune in and you can actually see like graphics on the screen as I'm going live. There are 2 places where you can only see me, and there's 1 place where you can only hear my voice and you don't see me at all. So anywho, my confusion is that I made a note to put on the screen and now it's gone. So I think I accidentally deleted it, but it's okay. So day 23, intentional insight. You know what? Let me go ahead and type it so that you guys can see it. Okay. Day 23, intentional insight and act. Okay, guys, I got it. Thanks for your patience. Boop. Let's do it. There we go. Day 23, intentional insight and act. Identify one area of your life where you are resistant to change. Just one. You don't have to identify all of them, because baby steps, little by little, progress is better than perfection. You can't improve upon nothing. You got to make a move to know what to do better. Okay? So what is one area that you have been resistant to change in your life? Identify that, because the first step is awareness. And then I want you to go through the triple A's that we discussed and follow that process. Okay? So identify the area and then follow the process of call on AAA. And if you missed it because you just tuned in, or if you forgot already because you didn't take notes, the replay is available. Go back and listen to the replay. Okay? I'll say them very quickly. A. Well, they're all A's. It's triple A. The first A, acknowledge. Acknowledge the resistance and your feelings. 2, acknowledge your fears and threats. 3, acknowledge the loss. The second A, ask. Ask what could go wrong. 2, ask what could go right. 3, ask how can I control this? Or not how can I control this? Can I control this? The last A, allow. Allow yourself time to process and shift your mindset. 2, allow yourself to create a plan of action. 3, allow others to help. Boom, there you go. Okay? So identify one area that you are resistant to change in, and then go through the process of calling on AAA. Tabitha says she is resistant to change and setting boundaries. Well, I can tell you this. When you don't set boundaries, that means other people are treating you to their benefit. And you probably feel like a doormat. You probably feel like everyone takes advantage of you. You may or may not have a lot of toxic relationships in your life, because guess what? It's toxic people out there. And if they know you don't have any boundaries, they have no problem using you up without a care in the world, unfortunately. So a lack of boundaries is probably costing you your peace. It could be costing you your mental health. Could be costing you financially, physically, all kinds of different ways. So kudos for that, for sharing that is. And then we're going to be checking in with you because we want to know your progress. Okay, so make sure you share with the Devotional Time for Mindset how you're progressing and improving. She says definitely. All right, guys. That is a wrap. Tabitha said all of the above. That is a wrap on day 23 of Devotional Time for Mindsets. And again, we are here every day, same time, same place. Please share out these live streams. Share out the replays, especially if there was one that was good for you. That means it's going to be good for somebody else you're connected to that has no clue who I am. Okay, so they don't know to tune in to Devotional Time for Mindset every day at midnight Eastern Time. And for those of the family, of the Devotional Time for Mindset family that are in other parts of the world, please convert that into whatever time zone you are in. Midnight Eastern, convert it for yourself. Central would be 11 p.m. Let's see. Pacific would be 9 p.m. And I don't know what time it would be overseas. It'd be your morning time overseas, is from what I hear. Because one person said, let me see, earlier, Bogani said in Johannesburg, South Africa, it was 7 a.m. So yeah, convert midnight Eastern to whatever time zone you're in, and then know we're here every single day, weekends and holidays included, at that time. Okay, you can find all the things you need to find, all the resources, all the tools. You can download your free copy of the book if you'd like to follow along with us at mindsetmastersuite.com. Okay, you can submit prayer requests at mindsetmastersuite.com. You can purchase your first class life devotional book at mindsetmastersuite.com. And that is a devotional that is a completely immersive devotional. So it has 35 testimonies of phenomenal faith through turbulent times. And each chapter has space for you to reflect on the lesson of that chapter. Okay, you can skip around, you can read it in order. It doesn't matter. That's the type of book it is. It's yours to use as a tool and resource. That can be found at mindsetmastersuite.com. All right. If you're looking for a therapist, there are 3 links on mindsetmastersuite.com that you can click on and search for therapists in your areas. And search for, okay, do they accept my insurance? If not, how much do they charge? Do I want a Black therapist? Do I want a white therapist? Do I want a gay therapist? Do I want a straight therapist? Do I want a Christian therapist? Do I want a secular therapist? The 3 links are there, and you search however you feel you need to search. Okay, Anita? So, let's see. That is it. That is all I got for you. See y'all tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember, mindsetmastersuite.com is where you can find all the things. And with that, thank you for allowing me to guide you on this journey and thinking of you often, praying for you always. I love you guys. See you tomorrow as we start day 24 of devotional time for mindset. All right. Bye, AJ. Oh, no, just kidding. Y'all, I can't push the button. There we go. Okay, finally. Oh, just kidding. Oh, yeah. Okay, there. It worked. Oh, Carrington said, love you as well. Yeah, heart emoji. Random thought, random end of the thought if you're still here. Why do like the kids these days make the heart like this? I feel like that's so much harder to make and it looks more like a gang sign than a heart. Like I feel like I'm throwing up somebody's set. I don't want to do this in public. Why we can't just do this? It's so much easier. And I feel like it's universally recognized. Okay, Carrington, you got me off on a tangent. I'm supposed to be ending the lives right now. All right. See you later. Bye. And Lisa says, love the hair, by the way. Why, thank you. Thank you.